Our first speaker today is Mr. Keith Everitt. Keith is one of our EXP managing brokers. We have 3 in Colorado. So based on the number of agents you have in a state, you have more brokers that help us. Keith has been in real estate for 20 years now. He was a top 5% producer at Coldwell in West Denver, and he was the regional managing director there. At Keller Williams, then he shifted. He had a team in Evergreen and in Grand Junction. He is a coach. He's a trainer. He's a former Tom Ferry coach. He's an owner of Take the Next Step Consulting. So as a real estate coach and trainer, please help me welcome Keith Everitt. Except I got to say, got it. Then I think we can, yeah, we're there. We're there.
It's always weird hearing somebody else talk about yourself, and it's a great event here. This is the second time I've been here. What Kelly, Jeff, and the crew put together is an amazing opportunity for you guys to learn, to get together, to see each other face to face, and to develop some better habits maybe in your real estate practice. I don't like to talk at people. I want to talk with you guys. So please raise your hand, jump in anytime. This is a conversation. I'm not one of those formal presenters, and I want to make sure that we have fun and that we get some good engagement. So that being said, what the heck is flow? Now, flow state is a term that was developed by a psychology professor named Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And trust me, that's how you say his name. It's easy to butcher. But he came up with this idea back in the late 90s and early 2000s to see what it was that allowed people to get into a place where they are working in a very serious but relaxed manner. It's a way where you're totally immersed in a task and you're performing it with enthusiasm, ease, and total immersion. But you might think of it more as being in the zone. Now, we know from sports mostly about people being in the zone. Steph Curry, goes insane, drops 8 or 9 threes in a half of a game. There's a lot behind him being in that zone, though, that we don't think about. And one is that you have to have the skill set for the task at hand. Now, you can develop this for your lead generation as well. And we're talking about the zone or the flow state today for your lead generation, because you could be the best person in the world at contracts. You can have all the acronyms after your realtor name, but if you can't get a lead, you don't get to practice real estate. Lead generation is the most important part of your business, period. End of conversation. Now, with that being said, how do you get into the zone like Steph Curry? And like I said, it's skills that meet the task. Well, Steph practices 6 hours a day. He shoots 500 shots a day. And if you are a follower of Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote a book called Outliers that came to the conclusion that to become an expert in mastery of a skill, you need 10,000 hours of proper practice. Not doing it wrong, doing it the right way, 10,000 hours. So it took him 6.5 years to become a master at his craft. You can do this as well. Now, developing, don't think that you have to go do those 6 hours a day for 6.5 years before you can start making the phone calls. I don't want you to think I'm saying that. Don't get ready to get ready to get ready. I want you to practice and then go make your call. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. When you're learning, there are 4 stages of you learning a task. And you start, and I want you to all go back to your first year in real estate. You went through this expensive course. You took this really crappy test to know that you don't know anything about real estate. All they taught you is how to get your license, right? So when you started out unconscious incompetence. That is, you don't even know what you don't know about real estate. Your first day on the job, you get your shiny new name tag and your business cards, and you're like, what now? Now, as you progress and you have a mentor, you have a leader that helps you, you become conscious to what you don't know. So now you're starting to see that there are things that you need to be studying and paying attention to in order to get that expertise. And Kelly, we did it again. There's no timer going. So you just wave at me. Okay. So after you start practicing and learning what you're supposed to learn and knowing what you're supposed to know, you're starting to get a little bit of that competence and you're aware of it, but you have to think about doing it. Now, once you've done it over time and you're getting that mastery of the skill, you get to the point where you don't even have to think about it. Unconscious competence. And one that I think all of us can, put in our mind to think about what we're doing is you could drive home from this event today and think about all the great information you got. And when you got home, you don't remember driving home. You are on autopilot because you have conscious competence of driving home. You know the route, you know the stoplights, and you can just do it on autopilot or in the zone or in flow state. This graph is showing you basically where you are in a feeling idea of flow. If you're doing a task that is too easy for you, you're going to be bored. So if your skill set is higher than the task you're looking at and that you're performing, you're going to be bored. If you're doing something that's harder than you're used to doing, maybe if you're speaking for the first time, you're going to be anxious and you are going to need to improve your skill set to be able to get into that flow state. But when the task and your skills meet and align, that's when you're in flow and time just goes away and everything just seems to click for you. And I tend to go back to my wrestling career when I think about flow state, when everything goes right. I always go back to sports. It took me a while to apply it to real estate. And when you do, it's awesome. So how do you do it? How do you get into the flow state? So balancing the challenge and your skill, we just talked about. So you need to be picking a skill to develop and then applying it to your lead generation. Let's just say FSBOs. You need to practice a sell by owner script. You need to know where you're going to get those leads. You need to know how to get the phone numbers, how to get the contact information, right? So you're gathering all the skills in order to be able to make your lead generation calls on for sale by owners. And this is a side tip. When you say I'm going to do an hour lead generation, and the first thing you sit down is like, who am I going to call? You've blown it. That happens before your lead generation time, not during your lead generation time. So get prepared, get the skills, and get all your information together before you start the challenge. Second, make sure you're in the right environment. You don't want distractions. You want to be able to focus. I have ADD. I'm going to talk about that often here. And I get distracted very easily. In my room, I have my computer. The world is open on it. I've got my personal Chrome open, and I got my business Chrome open, and I've got 35 tabs open, and it doesn't bother me at all. I have people that freak out about that. It doesn't bother me at all. So I have a hard time focusing. So I'll talk about some tips and tools that you can use at the end of the presentation on how to help you if you have focus problems, but having the right environment is key. In all my brick and mortar offices, I would go around and hand everyone a stop sign on a piece of paper that said lead generation happening. And you tape it to your door, you tape it to your cubicle, and you're not allowed to talk to somebody when their stop sign's out because you're interrupting their ability to do their lead generation. So that if you don't have a quiet space, set boundaries with the people around you that you need this time because it's the most important time in your job. Setting clear goals going into your lead generation time. I'm going to call for 1 hour. I'm going to make 20 calls. I'm going to set 3 appointments. Whatever those clear goals are, make sure you set them. Concentrate on one task at a time to be in flow. One task at a time. More tools to come on that. One task at a time. Lead generation. If it's sphere of influence follow-up calls, whatever it is, one at a time. Recognize time transformations. We have other stuff to do. We're going to go open a door for an appraiser or an inspector. We're going to show houses to a buyer. We're going to pick up our kids at school. That's a tough one to forget, guys. Done it. You need to be aware of the time, because when you're in flow, time goes away. So the time transformation is something key to pay attention to as well. And then evaluate yourself after you're through with your lead generation. Sit down and say, this is what I did good. This is what I could have done better. This is what I need to work on my skill set. And this is what I want to do next time. And be honest with yourself. Don't be mean to yourself, but be honest with yourself how you can improve. It's constructive criticism with your soul. So setting up your lead gen zone, and you see what I did there, zone in the zone. Where are you going to do this? I like to do it away from my typical workstation, because when I do that, I have too many distractions. Whether it's just picking up my computer and moving to the other side of my stand-up desk and doing it there. I am a horrible keyboardist, so I have a pad of paper as well. Let's talk about a few other things that I've learned over the years that are great when you're making lead generation calls. A mirror. Anybody know why you have a mirror? Some of you have heard this before, so come on, help me out. Remember, I don't want to talk at you. I'll talk with you. So you can see yourself. It's a mirror, right? Yes, thank you. You get to see what you look like. 55% of communication is nonverbal, and people hear it through the phone. And what you look like in that mirror is what they're hearing. So it's a great tool to remind you to be on. The other thing, I love earbuds or a headset because I talk with my hands. I'm not Italian, but I talk with my hands a lot. And it's something that, standing up is something that I also highly encourage you to do. You have more energetic conversations standing up, making the motions, looking in the mirror, smiling. And then there's that safety blanket. The script is right there in front of you, just in case that you didn't internalize. On scripts, I hated them. I had my managers always trying to, and coaches, come on, you got to do scripts and dialogues. And I resisted, except on my listing presentation. I memorized that, practiced so much. My wife hated me and I had to practice on my dog. I practiced. Then I came to a leadership position where I had to coach scripts and dialogues. Embarrassed. I was so embarrassed because I didn't know it and I had to practice it. And then I got back into sales and boom, wow, this is easy. Now I thought I was going to be fake. I thought that if I was doing these scripts and dialogues, I was going to sound like a robot. Do you know anyone looking to buy or sell real estate in the next 30 days? And I'm not that guy. What you need to realize is that whatever your job was before real estate is your script. Whatever life experiences you're bringing to real estate or the ones that you had in your other job or in your college career. As a kid, I was in the Army and I was in the restaurant business. That didn't prepare me to sell real estate. I needed those scripts and dialogues to know what to talk to those guys about. And when I internalize them, they don't feel like a scripting. That's the number one thing you could do to improve as a real estate agent, period. All right. We're frozen. Kelly. The next one says deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is taking that scripts and dialogues and getting to those 10,000 hours, doing it the right way. Be deliberate about it. Get a partner that you can have a practice session with and get somebody you trust too. And listen, when you're practicing with somebody scripts and dialogues the first time, throw them softballs. Don't be that jerk that wants to try to pin them down with an answer they can't get. Because no. No, man. So when you're doing that, be kind at first and then add layers on top of it of complexities, and find somebody that you trust, because once you do have that person to trust, you're going to be more likely to continue doing the practice. When you have gotten to the point where you're ready to start making the calls on those for sale by owners, and don't do it for 5 weeks before you start. Get out there and make those calls, because that is also practicing and honing your skill. You need to get into your zone, your lead generation zone, and come up with your intentions. Who knows what SMART goals are? Okay. Come up with a SMART goal. Thank you. For what your intention is for this lead generation session. I'm going to make calls for 1 hour. I'm going to talk to 10 people. I'm going to have 3 appointments set. Whatever it is, make sure that it's specific, measurable, is achievable, or action-oriented, whichever one you choose, relevant, and it's time-bound. So we just set all of those because it was a specific goal. I'm going to call for 10 or for 1 hour, make 10 calls or 3 connections, right? You can measure it, it's achievable. And for those of you that think you can't talk to 3 or set 3 appointments in 1 hour, you can, because other people do. You just need to get the skill set to get there. And I set the time for 1 hour. All right, so tools and tips. Again, that phone weighs about 5,000 pounds to a lot of it. And I'm there with you. I had an assistant one time that I would walk into my office and hand her my cell phone, and I didn't get it back until I made 25 calls. Sometimes we need someone to hold us accountable, like an accountability partner. Maybe your script and dialogue practice partner can be your accountability partner, but that is something that will help push you until you make this a habit of getting the calls done. We all need a CRM. This is something that, as a leader in 3 different organizations, I've seen, and coaching with Tom Ferry, we all have the ability to use a CRM. I'd say 70% of real estate agents have a login for a CRM. You know what I'm talking about, right? Some people might even have the quick link on the toolbar to get into that CRM, but I've talked to a lot of people, 5 to 10% use it on a daily basis. Lead generation is your most important job, and this is your most important tool for your most important job. And we give you at EXP, you have KV Core for free. I had a buddy of mine that I worked with at my last brokerage, and he was trying to decide to open his own company or to come with me to EXP. And I sat down and I showed him the whole platform, showed him KV Core. And in a good way, he had that ego drive to do his own company, but he picked KV Core. He paid $1,200 a month. It's an incredible tool. Now, a CRM can be a recipe box with January, February, March, April, May dividers and your index cards. And #1 agent, Global Banker Genesee, 2003, my first year in real estate, that was her CRM. And she called everybody. And she sat there, and she was from Arkansas, big voice, big, tall lady, just incredible agent. But she'd write down what the conversation was and move to the next month. And that's all she did, and write 3 handwritten cards a day. But that was her CRM. It kept her organized. She had the notes, and she had some that were stapled that thick together of the conversations she had over the years with those people. If you're into technology, KV Core or another one, there are a bunch of them out there. They're key to your success. And no, I'm not being dramatic here. It is the most important thing you can do. And it pains me to see people struggling if they come into the business day one and they put their people in their phone into KV Core or into a CRM. And a lot of them will help you download the people in your phone into a CSV file and upload it for you. Just spend the time, spend 1 hour a day. I mean, you don't have anything else to do. You're brand new, right? So that, and if you have not done, if you're one of us that have the login and have the quick link and we're not doing it, commit to it, put it on your calendar and take the time to use a CRM. You set it up properly. And I get an email every morning. Here are the 10 people you have to call. How easy is that? My intention's set for me by a bot on KV Core. So I think I'm beating a dead horse there. CRM is the most important thing. All right. We talked about distractions. There are a lot of tools out there as well to help you focus. If we're going to be doing it, doing our lead generation on KV Core, again, no typing skills. I take a notebook, I jot down the notes, I come back afterwards, spend 15 minutes, transcribing it back into my CRM. But Focus or Freedom is a focus app that shuts down everything on my computer except KV Core or whatever app you're working with. I can't get into anything else until the timer goes off for 1 hour or however you set it up. Cold turkey is another one. I have a lot of people, and I'm one of these guys too. My lead gen consists of phone calls, text messages, and Facebook instant messaging. And you go into Facebook and you see everybody that's online with that little green light on them. You don't know who to call. Go on Facebook and click on one of those guys and just start chatting them up. In the coaching world, it used to be that you had to have a belly-to-belly or a phone call conversation. There are a lot of millennials that won't even talk to you during a whole transaction. Whatever the method of conversation they want to have with you is the one that you can count as a conversation. So if it's a text, I don't like email, but you can use it. Or if it's phone call or a belly-to-belly, those are the contacts. Cold turkey allows you to pick some of them that you want to leave open and shut down the rest of them. Rescue time is another one. Not real familiar with it. But that timer there is my baby. The Pomodoro timer. Have you heard of the Pomodoro technique? Now this is ADD, right? This is my baby. There's an Italian economist, economic student that had ADD and he couldn't study. So he took his mom's timer, turned it to 25 minutes. And these old school timers, click, 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 for 25 minutes. When he got through studying for those 25 minutes, he set it for 5 minutes. We got a glass of water, restroom, got a snack, stretched, whatever, and then set it for 25 minutes again. And who knows what Pomodoro is? It's tomato in Italian. It's a tomato timer, kitchen timer, and that's how it got its name. And then they did the science behind it, and they found out that this is optimal. The average person on an 8-hour workday is productive 2.8 hours. Productivity over 50 hours a week goes down. And studies show that the optimal work week would be 6 hours a day, 32 hours a week. Now, what the science says with Pomodoro is you do 4 Pomodoros, 5-minute break in between, you take a 30-minute break, you do 4 more Pomodoros, you will have the most productive day of your life. It's like that day before you go on vacation and you have 3 deals going, you got to make sure everything's done before you take off on vacation. That's every day for you, if you can master something like the Pomodoro technique. So these are all ideas to get you into a place where you can get into the flow state, be in the zone to make those calls. Now, here's one thing that's counter to what I said earlier about being conscious of your time. If you are nailing it and you wanted to get 3 appointments and you got 4 and you're getting to the end of the hour, crank that Pomodoro and keep making calls because you're on a roll. And it's something about the way you feel. My mentor got me into real estate, taught me that she would never leave an open house without a lead. Never. It's your intention. And if it's rolling, go with it. So that being said, focus is a superpower. It's very challenging for some of us. However, if you're able to take that time for your lead generation, and that's all personal, and make sure that you can focus, get your skills up to the task, and get into the zone or flow state while you're doing your lead generation. It's going to change your career. It will just change your career. I am one of those guys that is challenged with focus, and that tick timer, and they're electronic. You get them on your phone. There are probably 50 apps in your app store that you can use for free. It keeps me focused and it keeps me on track. So now that I've thrown all this information out on you, I've vomited, flow state on you. What kind of questions do you have? Trish?
So, thank you. They're really helpful and after so many years. But, this is an interruption-based kind of business. Things blow up in the middle of the day. Some are little blow-ups and not that important. Others are big blow-ups. Could, a deal could be going south. So how do we manage that inside of our need to be general and to stay focused?
Right in Philadelphia.
Repeat the question.
Okay, so Trish asked, how do we stay focused? Because there are so many interruptions in real estate, in the day-to-day transactions and deals blowing up. Friend of mine, Philadelphia, used to be a cop, paramedic, told me that he was shot at people, saved people's lives, had people die on him. And there are no emergencies in real estate. And his voicemail said, "Hi, this is Matt of the Matt Fettig team. This is an emergency. Please hang up and dial 911. Otherwise, we return calls between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Saturdays." There is nothing more important than your lead generation time, or you don't have a business. So put it on your calendar, time block it off, and commit to it. To set that intention, like we talked about earlier. Great question. Yes, sir.
Can you repeat the time amounts of your technique?
So they're 25-minute at a time. Then you take a 5-minute break. You do 4 Pomodoros, a 30-minute lunch, and 4 Pomodoros.
Thank you.
Yes. And now that's the optimum day. Now, are we ever going to be able to do that? If you do all your lead generation in one day a week and schedule everything else, and I've seen people do it, then yes, you can. Maybe you just do the Pomodoros in the morning. When I have a task that I really have to focus on, I just set the Pomodoro and just get to work. Great question. Thank you.
And Brian? No question. Any other questions?
Because I did such a good job presenting, right? Thank you, guys.